Well, hello once again, folks. This is Customizing the Clone Wars. This is episode 24, and I am your host, Peak Obi-Wan. Along with me, I have my co-host. He is Darth Daddy from the Custom for the Kid blog spot. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing really well. Episode 24 of Customizing the Clone Wars, and tonight we're going to be covering Lightsaber Lost. Which is actually based on an Akira Kurosawa movie called Stray Dog.
Tell us about
it. It's basically, I'll read the back of the movie. I actually have the movie here.
Very cool. Very cool. Look at that.
I've been collecting Kurosawa movies for years. I pretty much have his entire library, and Criterion Collection put out really good versions of pretty much all of them. And I'm going to just read a brief description off the back of the Criterion Collection DVD. Cool. And you're going to see how closely it matches up with the description for Lightsaber Lost. So maybe I'll read this, and right immediately after you could read off the description for Lightsaber Lost from the episode.
I sure will. Yep.
All right. So this is a description we get in the back to summarize the story. A bad day gets worse for young detective Murakami when a pickpocket steals his gun on a hot, crowded bus. Desperate to right the wrong, he goes undercover, scavenging Tokyo's sweltering streets for the stray dog whose desperation has led him to a life of crime. With each step, cop and criminals' lives become more intertwined, and the investigation becomes an examination of Murakami's own dark side. Starring Toshiro Mifune as the rookie cop and Takashi Shimura as the seasoned detective who keeps him on the right side of the law. Stray Dog goes beyond crime thriller, probing the squalid world of post-war Japan and the nature of the criminal mind.
Wow. Awesome. Appreciate that. And in the episode guide that I usually read from, it says, after losing her lightsaber to a pickpocket in the slums of Coruscant, Ahsoka teams up with Tara Sinube, must be the seasoned cop, right?
Yep.
An elderly Jedi who is an expert on the Coruscant underworld, searching for Ahsoka's lightsaber. The two Jedi are drawn into a dramatic chase that teaches Ahsoka a valuable lesson about patience. Wow, they seem to match up pretty nicely.
Yes, they do. Very well, actually.
And this is probably, we say this every episode, don't we? This is one of our favorites. Probably one of the best of season 2. Just because it's one of those episodes, and I don't know if we've got to them yet. Maybe it was, maybe Landing at Point Rain was one of those where they pack everything into one episode. You're just like, how on earth did they get all of that stuff into one episode?
Into 22 minutes.
It's like 22 minutes. And this episode is one of those examples. There's just so much going on. And essentially it shows us Coruscant, right? We get kind of a city. They're in the big
underbelly.
City. Yeah, it's the underworld, right? The start of the underworld, right?
Yeah, the seedier, the seedier side of Coruscant. Not so much the senatorial end of it, or the Jedi Temple, or what you see through the eyes of Palpatine, but this is more what's going on in the lower levels.
That's right, the underworld, right?
Yeah,
like Plo Koon says. I love that, man. He's so cool. And that's coming up towards the end of the episode. If you haven't seen our show, we are in season 2 of the Clone Wars, and while we discuss everything, our insights just coming right out of our heads. We do a little bit of research, but we're just huge fans. We decided that we have to put our customs with these, with all the great figures that they've already given us, right?
Yeah, there's just characters that were never represented in the toy line. Some of them were such cool characters that it was a shame that they were overlooked. They were not overlooked here on this show. You're going to get to see them. You'll get to see at least what our interpretations of of these characters would be, and yeah, just see how they look like in action figure form based on all the years of experience we had with making figures and our desire to bring these characters to life.
That's right. That's right, and that's our show. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, it's funny that we are made the joke already that this is another one of our favorite episodes because a lot of people always refer to season 3 as the season where the Clone Wars really took off.
Right.
But already we said, landing at Point Rain, Rain Invaders, The Deserter, now Lightsaber Lost. We've already listed 4 episodes out of this season as some of our favorite episodes of all time. So
that's right. Yeah.
Maybe it was season 2 where things really started to kick off, because I know next week we're supposed to do Bounty Hunters, and I'll add that one to the group of
the greatest
episodes that are some of my favorites of all time.
Right. Yeah, the best episodes ever, right? And that's another one that's based on Kurosawa.
Kurosawa. Yeah. That one's Seven Samurai.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun one too, because that's going to pop in one of the most popular. I feel one of the most popular customs I think I've ever done. But we'll get into that next week, because we got some great ones tonight, man. So let's jump right into it, and let's move into it. Here we go. All right. So it says, easy isn't always simple. That is our fortune cookie tonight. What do you think of that?
It's interesting. I'm trying to process it right now.
Yeah, I think this is kind of based on the quick and easy. Don't just try for the quick and easy. Don't just try to figure it out right away. Because they did say that they talk about her learning a lesson in patience.
And maybe it could fall into that haste makes waste category, because
sure.
You always find people who try to rush through things and go with the quickest, easiest way to do something.
Right.
Elias is classic for that. I shouldn't talk about him when he's not here, but he's the king of trying to do things quick and easy, and then next thing you know, he gives himself a million more steps, because if he did it right the first time, it would have taken a couple more steps, but you would have gotten done right, and now you don't have to correct all the things that you got wrong because you tried to rush through something.
Yeah, he was rushing around earlier tonight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So like we said, we're in season 2, and if you are a fan of the Clone Wars, you will understand that in season 2, it was called The Rise of the Bounty Hunters, and this episode is no exception. They're basically reminding us that we're seeing the rise of the bounty hunters, and we end up back on Coruscant. Like I said, this is focused specifically on Coruscant. Isn't that a cool shot? It's kind of like
very cool.
A shot from space or a shot from the atmosphere. You can see just a giant grid. I'm assuming those are cars. Just aligning the streets and whatnot. It's just outrageous. I always thought it was cool when they put that in the special edition of Return of the Jedi. I was just like, we finally saw what they call back in the old days Imperial Center or City Center, or one of those names. The old days, meaning we both. Darth Daddy and I are from what I affectionately call the originals, especially in collecting. That name has become more prominent because of, just wanting and hoping that we get back to more of a kind of an original idea where we're focusing on the movies, we're focusing on recreating scenes and not just having figure choices that are, whatever, right? Yeah. So here we are. We're in the underbelly, so it seems, or some of the lower levels. I know we're not as low as what is the famous place where Ahsoka goes to hide? Is that?
What is it? The level 1313?
Yeah, level 1313. I'm sure we're on 10 10-7 or something.
Yeah.
You know, they probably start at 1 up above and then go down or something.
Which gives you an idea just how expansive this city really is.
Yeah.
To go down 1,313 levels, and I'm sure that wasn't even the lowest level.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's unbelievable.
pretty dense.
Yeah, just this giant city. I always thought that was kind of cool, you know. But there's, like I said, there's so much packed into this episode, and we start with Anakin and Ahsoka, and they're hunting down a arms dealer basically, and his name is Kar Alpha. And I unfortunately didn't get him done for tonight's show. I wanted to. I'll show you here in a moment, but we just get a whole bunch of characters on Coruscant that we've seen previous, and you know, you can see one back there who's very familiar. That looks like Emmett Noloff, doesn't it?
It very much does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we also get our first appearance in probably a little while of Pun Zignut.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a while since we saw him.
Yeah, it has, and he is. I'm assuming he's drinking, but he's coughing. He's having trouble. He's got a cold. I just always said, "Oh, he's got a cold" or something like that, because she was kind of repulsed by him, and I guess it was like. You know, kind of a statement. Don't sit in the Coruscant alley and drink or something. You'll get a terrible cough or something. So there he is, and there's my custom, leading to my first custom, I should say. There's Pun Zignut again, one of our absolute favorites. We play the game Where's Pun Zignut all the time, because he's just so cool. He's just so
always
cool.
popping in there.
Yeah, I would love for him to show up in Rebels.
Oh, you're not kidding.
That would be great. That would be great.
It would.
Yeah, Filoni just jumped right in there and said, "Hey, we're gonna throw him in there just for a kind of a joke, you know, because these people love it so much, or love that guy so much. He's just real colorful." But back with Anakin and Ahsoka, they're going to look for Kar Alpha, and he goes in and he leaves her outside it's obviously a Weequay den, because here we see Dabu Flask again and an unnamed Weequay with kind of a
peg leg.
Yeah, peg leg, right?
Yep.
And I actually put a version of one of my Weekways that has the peg leg, and even though he has his green beret on, you know what I did tonight, and I'll show you just off the screen here. I actually took the time to just pop the head off. You know, I just literally popped the head off of that body, and
Oh, nice.
you know, and I just put the red beret on, but
Yep.
he's not really focusing. Sorry about that, folks. But there he is. And, you know, there are little things you can do to, you know, diversify your collection. Exactly. And he's got his little peg leg going on there, too. That was fun when I built it. Just built it out of bips and bops. I do that often. Do you ever find yourself building things out of junk? Yeah, definitely. I find it so rewarding, to be honest with you, when I don't have a solid recipe. You know what I'm saying? Where if I find something and I just pull out a bunch of just junk and I start putting something together, piecing it together, and I make something great out of it. I'm like, wow, that was just made out of just stuff in the bottom of the bottom of the drawer, you know, the plastic drawer, my extras drawer. So back to the episode. Anakin gets into trouble, and a bunch of people come running out of the club, and they knock Ahsoka over. And apparently, somebody had stolen her lightsaber. It was this dude. His name is Banamu. And do you have a picture of Banamu? This is a custom I did. Gosh, when did I do that? I did that the beginning of last year. I've been wanting to do him forever because he's just so cool looking. You know, he is a Petrolean, a fish guy, and he is obviously the guilty party.
So I do have a picture. This is a picture I took of your Banamu. I actually own the figure. I have quite a number of the figures that Chad's going to be showing of it that he made from this episode. I happen to own a great deal, a great number of them, but this is actually one figure that I don't believe you ever took a picture of after you finished making him, and I think I have the only existing photos of the character that you made.
That's great.
I think it's the only time that's ever happened, but
yeah. How irresponsible of me. But man, I'll tell you what, I made this character, and I'll let you talk so we can see the picture. But
okay, yeah. You made him obviously out of Robin Eno, which was a figure that came from the season finale of season 1. They ended up putting out the Purple Petrolean bounty hunter that was part of Aura Singh's crew. It was Bane actually ran that with Aura Singh, but Robin Eno was part of that crew, and they released him as an action figure with Shehan Alama, which you actually just got that head off of for that Weequay pirate.
That's right.
With the red beret, which is kind of cool. But here, this is one of those examples where you're able to take those Clone Wars figures that had already come out and still be able to reuse them as a template for making another character, which is really cool. And with this, you actually had to do some sculpting to create the second eye, because from what I remember, Robin Eno, didn't he have a robot eye of some sort?
Yeah, he has a patch over his eye, actually.
Yeah.
So I literally had to grind that off and make that eye from scratch. I used green stuff to make it. So it turned out pretty good. I think it turned out pretty good. And then just added a little pieces here and there. The bandage that he has on his arm, he basically says, "I almost killed myself." I can't really do his impression.
Oh yeah, turning the lightsaber on and
yeah. He almost killed himself with it. So this is the dude that actually stole it. So he gets away. She goes and she starts looking for him, but the crowd is too huge. So he slips away. And there, once again, is Emmett Noloff. And I didn't say that previous, but he must have got off that planet.
Yeah. Once Anakin and Obi-Wan ended up getting rid of that separatist, it was some kind of grid. Did they say? I forget what word they used.
Yeah, it was the
laser grid, maybe.
Yeah, the laser grid, or what was he called? It was called the Phantom Ruler of Aigo, right?
Oh yeah, and he was basically the biggest supporter of that theory of the ghost of Aigo.
Yeah, he's like, we're cursed, but yeah. I'm assuming
he was the local doomsdayer.
Yeah, he was, and here he is. He can't complain about anything anymore because there he is. He's all ready to go, and we got some Ithorians and some Bith, and we're rocking and rolling. So here is my Emmett Noloff. I thought I'd share him real quick. He's a fun one. I've actually done 2 versions of this character.
Yeah, I have the first version you did.
Yeah.
That's the one you're showing right now is the second.
Yeah, that's right. And they just, sometimes they look a little bit different. I'll talk about that later when we get into Cassie Cryer, because I actually did 2 versions of Cassie also. But sometimes they're, I'm not a machine, man. They'll come out a little bit different, and there's always great qualities about both of them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And so there he is. And this is Anakin coming out with Karloff. And like I said, this is probably a Weequay den of some sort. And he's just kind of a basic dude. And there he is. And what I loved about it was he has just a nice big smiley patch face on either shoulder.
What I think is cool is he's wearing that helmet from the guy from Jabba's. Like the headwear that he's wearing looks very similar to
Right.
that Nikto helmet.
Yeah, and I'm sure that is the case. And you know what's funny is I'll show you a picture of what I have here, or I'll hold it up to the screen. I tried to use that Nick 2 helmet. This is the one that you're referring to, right?
Yep, that is the one.
I have a Nick 2 helmet. But what I found out was that it's very short because the Nick 2 guy has a very short neck, right? So I just made my car off from scratch. There he is, and I made him his own helmet. I made him with his own helmet, and like I said, he's not done. I'm still working on the smiley faces and stuff. I really wanted to get him done for this episode, but
yeah, that's my fault because I have to get up crazy early some Monday morning.
Yeah,
otherwise, you probably got to add an extra 2 hours.
Yeah, I wish this was our day job, right?
Oh, I know. Especially because I have to get up at like 3:30 in the morning tomorrow for work.
Yeah, we have other jobs, folks. This is just something we do on the side, man. We just me and Darth Daddy, we came together in about 2010, and we just started rapping about Clone Wars all the time. We're just like, man, we gotta make a show out of this, so let's do this, right?
Yeah, it's definitely well suited for the catalog of the work that we've actually produced.
Yeah.
We both are pretty heavy in the Clone Wars. We do go outside of Clone Wars, but I would say probably our best known pieces are Clone Wars pieces. So this show is really well suited for what we do.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it because it's like you said with the Robo Nino and the Banamu. It almost has kind of, from a marketing standpoint, it almost has what Hasbro would really love to have in Star Wars, and it's kind of that Marvel thing where you can kind of take a character that already exists and kind of just piece it together and make something different out of it and come up with a completely different result. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have a feeling they would wish that Star Wars would be a little bit more like Marvel, where you just have a basic body and you can just use that body over and over and over again to save money. But that's definitely not the case because everybody's so unique. But in the Clone Wars, you have a little bit more of that freedom because of they're the same builds, they're the same pieces and everything.
To save money, George and Dave definitely reused assets whenever they could.
Yeah, George was all about that. He was like, I'm going to save money. I'm going to save money. I'm going to save money. I'm going to figure it out. And that's why these episodes are so good, because they would just add people like Emmett Noloff and Punzignut and these weak ways and just change all their little bits and bobs and whatnot. And the result turned out awesome,
For both the show and for the customizer.
Absolutely. There's this little smiley face on his shoulder, if you can see that there. And his face is all beat up, man. I think like Anakin punched him in the face or something. If you can see that there, he's kind of got like just blood, or maybe that's a tattoo or something. I don't know. But
a lot of those weak ways had some like facial markings, or at least that was the part, I guess, that made them individuals, was the markings varied so much. Some had darker skin tones, lighter skin tones, unique highlights, like with his pink highlights there. So that was one of the cool things that you saw to diversify the weak ways, was in their paint applications. Because sometimes the structure of the face didn't really change very much. It was almost as utilitarian as the outfits.
For sure. And that's great insight.
I didn't realize she was in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, how's that going? All
right. So I have. I'm so depressed now because this was my opportunity to do her. And my original plan was to make her this weekend, and then I ended up. Everybody in my family, our birthdays are in October, so we had to do the big October bash this weekend. But I now at least have a base body in my possession. I ended up basically sending a figure over to Germany for an artist that needed a particular figure that I had, and he was originally supposed to send me back the Jocasta Nu. It never made it, but luckily he sent me money for the figure that I had sent him, and I used that money the day he sent it to me to order a Jocasta Nu, and I now actually have a Jocasta Nu body in my custody, and all I have to do is basically pour a head cast, throw a little sculpting on the head, and yeah, I wish I had it done for today.
Yeah, and we had decided, didn't we, that you could probably just use the Emperor's head. Palpatine or Sidious, the Darth Sidious.
The Darth Sidious hooded, very rare figure.
If you look at that profile. Yeah, if you look at that profile, that is Darth Sidious all the way. Yeah, it's Palpatine. It's totally Palpatine. Yep. That goes right into what we were just talking about. So Ahsoka lost her lightsaber. She's all upset. She sneaks away from Anakin because he was processing Car Alpha. And so she goes in and she basically gives her some advice. She says, just tell him the truth, and he'll understand. He probably, she would probably would have been better off if she just told him the truth. Maybe he would feel good about it because he actually lost his lightsaber a bunch of times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she's pretty tore up. But this is actually our Easter egg for this week. We don't always have Easter eggs, but every once in a while, they'll put little cool things in the episodes. And did you see it in there? Did you see the
right above Ahsoka's shoulder up on the computer screen there, Bria Tanika.
Tanika's sister, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she must be like 12 years old or something because she looks great in the cantina. She looks great in the cantina, but here we are.
She's actually impersonating, I guess, when we were right before we got on the show, the person who's actually in the cantina isn't really a Tanaka sister. It's a mercenary from a mysterious militaristic order of female warriors known as the Mistral Shadow Guard, and her name is Shada Dukal. And she was impersonating one of the Tanaka sisters in the cantina bar at that time. So, I mean, you could say that maybe she was impersonating a much older woman, and if anyone had really known her, they'd be like, "Oh, she's too young to be her," but maybe that's why.
Yeah,
she looks so young.
Just, maybe they don't age or something like that. But I thought
that could be very true too.
Such a cool Easter egg, man. I picked that up right away when I first saw it. I was like, "Oh, they did it." This must be the one that doesn't mind if you share.
Yeah, a lot of people were hoping that that character would have, after this episode, that they were going to make her in the Clone Wars style. To get released as a toy, so then people could get two of her and then paint one of them green and then fill in their cantina set. Yeah, but didn't happen yet.
That would be great. So the librarian Jocasta Nu, she basically says, "I can't help you right now, but that Jedi can help you there. He is an expert on the underworld." So she goes and she meets Tara Sinube. And the funny thing is they meet for the first time in this episode. And I'm assuming it's just for introduction purposes or whatever. But in Grievous Intrigue, she's actually standing right next to him in the Jedi War Room.
You know what I was thinking?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times, though, where I've gone into a room as especially when you're younger and you're hanging out with one of the other younger kids and you see a room full of older Jedi, I could almost see her maybe never having a conversation with her and just be like, he's just another old person in the room, especially when they're very old. Usually she'd probably be more, likely to notice someone who was younger or closer in age to her. So maybe that's why, she acted as if she didn't really know him all that well in this episode.
And he was kind of in the back too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So she wakes him up from his nap, and he cracks some jokes. He's like, "So you're saying you're looking for a fish guy? So there's something fishy about him?" And he's laughing and everything. And she gives him a young person look, you know, like
old people humor.
Yeah, old people humor. You know, he cracks himself up. He kind of reminds me of
Yoda?
Einstein, really.
Oh yeah.
If you look at his mouth, it looks like a mustache, and his hair is just all over the place, but kind of like a intergalactic Einstein. And that's going to lead us right into my next custom, and that's Terrace Nube. I actually did this guy, and he turned out pretty awesome, I think. He took a little while. Took a little while to make. He's pretty rad. I got a bunch of different pieces of articulation. Made him from like 3 different Jedis.
Yeah, he's really well articulated. I actually have him on the shelf here behind me.
Very cool. Very cool. Here's some more shots of him. The cloth cloak was a Shakti cloak, and I just cut the hood off. And then the rest was done with Procreate. Just did everything here with Procreate. And then the bottom portion of his Jedi robe is actually cloth. That's from Mace Windu. And that is Terrace Nube. And yet I actually made it so you can put the top of his cane on his cane holder and remove it and put a lightsaber blade on it. So
very cool.
He's ready for action. So there's a few more shots, and I made him as colorful as I could. And the cool thing about it is, and this is one of my little customizing secrets, if you look at his head, not the eyes or anything, but down in the mouth here, if you notice, it has a very similar shape. And I've told you what it is, but I'm wondering if anybody else would figure it out. I actually made his head out of an inverted Ki-Adi-Mundi head. So his mouth is actually, you know, the top of his head, and you can see the rest of it goes down in here, and his face was like underneath the hair, you know, the wig and the kind of the braid tails coming down. And I just thought that was perfect. I was like, wow, I don't even have to sculpt this thing. All I really did was I just added the eyes, the eyebrow portion, and the nose, and then the mouth, and that's really all I did by sculpting this character. I don't know how often you sculpt just from scratch, but it certainly just cut a lot of time. And,
I'm definitely one to cut corners wherever possible to make it go along faster than I normally would, because I usually only have 1 day a week to work on a custom, because I spend a lot of time, more time at work than I care to. I probably work about 60 hours a week, so I usually have 1 or 2 days off. Sometimes that day is spent driving lives to and from school. So if I have that time, I will cut corners, because I know I have to have either something for the show or something for the blog, and I only have 8 to 10 hours to get that figure made. So wherever I can get ahead, I will.
Sure. Awesome. Well, there's Terrace Nube. That's my next custom. And back in the episode, Terrace Nube and Ahsoka go into the underworld, and they stop at this restaurant, basically. And this awesome looking Quarren guy with his animatronic eye or robotic eye or whatever.
It would be so cool to make.
Oh man, I totally want to make this guy. I just found the asset. We call them the assets, or that is what they are called. It's kind of a side-by-side, front, back, and side version of each piece of art that they produced in the Clone Wars, and you can get those just on Google Images, and I found this guy's artwork, so I'm definitely gonna put him in the works. I want to attempt making a Clone Wars-esque Quarren head without actually using one of the ones from the Clone Wars micro series, or just using Tessic. You know, I would like to.
It'd probably be better to do that guy from scratch.
Yeah, I'd really like to make him from scratch. You know, it definitely would be cool, but. This guy here and his buddy out back, they're like arms dealers, gun toters. They sell stuff on the black market. And they find out from him that Banamu is the one who stole her lightsaber, and they tell him where they are because it was going to get bad. And here we see Tara Sinube actually using a Jedi mind trick, which is cool, on this poor Rhodian woman. And he's like, "We know where we're going," you know.
Yeah.
And the Spire arms hostile or something like that, and they end up finding Banamu, and we get a little dark side. We get a little Anakin from Ahsoka because she pushes him up against the wall because Banamu insults her, saying
Which
she
kind of
doesn't.
plays into the whole stray dog thing too, because it was basically saying in Stray Dog, you had the older detective trying to keep the younger detective in line and say, hey, you gotta work within the rules of the law here, even though we're trying to get your gun back.
Right.
Kind of Ahsoka, like, going toward the dark side. They even used the word dark side on the back of the cover of the Stray Dog movie.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So they end up, Banamu got rid of it because, like I said, he had his arm bandaged up because it almost killed him. So he gave it to another, even more dangerous person, and that's this Knack Movers guy. And they end up going to his house, and they find him dead. And I'm guessing they just used the same asset with Ganact, the Ganact guy. So they find him dead, and that's going to lead us into one of your customs that you did. And enter the scene, Ione Marcy. This is apparently Knack Mover's girlfriend, and she is all upset. So do you have a shot of Ione Marcy?
I do. So with this custom, I ended up making her out of a bunch of figures. Originally, she didn't have knee articulation. It's something that I added in later on, but her head was actually the Adventure Padme head. And the great thing about that figure is it already had the braids going down the back, which was perfect to, I want to say I used green stuff because I don't think I was using Procreate quite yet. I don't think that was a substance I was even introduced to at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I used green stuff to basically resculpt the head and do the eyes and the ear flaps and stuff. And I believe up top, I want to say it was the Ayla Secora Clone Wars figure, and the arms were from the Ayla Secora Clone Wars figure. But I went and I used the green stuff to completely resculpt the torso. I know that white cummerbund area is definitely green stuff, and that tabard was also sculpted out of green stuff. And those lower legs are actually Hondo's, but I extended the hips out with some green stuff because Hondo's hips are just like straight down. He's got no shape to him. So I filled out her hips a bit, and the knees are actually from the vintage Ponda Baba figure, which I'm sure a lot of people would probably be angry knowing that one of these very difficult to find figures is no longer in existence, because it now it's part of Ione Marcy. And
wow.
yeah, those lower legs are also Ayla Secora.
Nice.
But they were also resculpted. I mean, this is really, when it comes down to it, pretty much every part that's on this figure was a skeleton that was later, it became a 100% sculpted figure. Even the hands, because the way Ione Marcy's hands are, they're more like flaps. I even had to sculpt all the way down to the hands to make it more screen accurate.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's a good mix of a lot of different figures. And do you want me to lead into, because basically from here, you're probably going to go into, I would assume, Cassie Cryer.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
At least I could do the shot of the two of them together. This shot was taken before I even articulated her knees. But you can see Cassie Cryer in the back there, and that's a figure that it's actually one of the first figures I ever bought from you. I had bought quite a number of them all at once, but she was one of the figures in that lot, from what I remember.
Oh man, she was so fun to make. She was so fun to make. That Ione Marcy's awesome, man. I really want to make her. I really loved how her eyes were kind of sideways. That was really different, right?
Yeah, she was a cool. The two of them. I mean, they were some of the cooler villains
Yeah,
in the Clone Wars, and I love the Clone Wars because you had female heroes, female villains, and it really reset. It was like a reboot of this is the way things should be. It's to get rid of that patriarchal, male dominated action, boys action show, and like
yeah,
make it so there's balance.
yeah.
And
I think right away. Yeah, I agree. Keep going. Keep going.
yeah, no, I like these were probably. Would you say? I'm trying to think if they were a first introduction to like. Well, no, I would say Karina the Great was probably a strong female villain, and so was
Yeah,
Aura Singh. So the show was packed full. Azaj Ventress. I mean, these were more one-off characters where they were the villain of the week, but
right.
they held their own right next to the reoccurring ones.
Yeah, we find out when they're in this apartment that something's not right. Sunube didn't trust her at all. Like
Yeah, she was playing
absolutely,
the victim, but
yeah, she's
something
playing the
wasn't
victim,
adding
but
up.
something wasn't right. And like I said in the beginning, it's Rise of the Bounty Hunters. So I don't know if these are the best bounty hunters. I guess they are really cool. They're very interesting characters, but ultimately maybe they're just kind of hacks. They're not very good. They're
Cassie
not.
Cryer did give Ahsoka a run for her money on that chase through Coruscant, and she
She
was
sure did.
put up
Yeah,
quite a bit of damage through the city as during that chase.
yeah. I mean, she couldn't really even get the lightsaber to go on. She didn't know how to turn it on,
I
and
never realized there was a picture of Nat Movers and Ione Marcy in a portrait on the wall.
yeah, and
Because
that's
I
why I
get
put.
it, they had a lot of time together, and she still killed his ass.
Exactly, exactly. I bet Ahsoka's sitting here. She goes into this dark room. I lighten this up quite a bit. She's probably like, "Well, that checks out.
Yeah,
There's a picture there of those two." But
she had like a flapper dress on.
yeah, I think maybe Cassie Cryer. Uh,
Was the bad egg?
she she was the bad egg, and she saw that this girl was hanging out with a really bad egg,
Yeah,
Nat Movers, and she kind of took her under her wing. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
I love the shot. If you can see this here, she kind of just comes up out of the bottom of the screen, just real scary, real scary. And she was so colorful, so interesting, and that's going to lead me into that custom you showed us just a few minutes ago. And there she is. That's the one. I did that back in 2010. That was quite a long time ago. She turned out pretty awesome. I have since done a second version, and like I said, folks, I'm just a person. Sometimes they come out different. The characters come out different. They won't always come out the same, and I decided to use different parts, and I'll show you my second version here shortly. But this is kind of the first one I used. You can tell I used Ventress's head and just basically painted it on her face. It turned out pretty great. I think it turned out pretty good. But back at it, we will continue on the story. I know we're running a little bit long here. It's such an action-packed episode. We realize while Ahsoka's in the other room, Sunube puts a tracking device on Ione Marcy because he just doesn't trust her. So all the while, Ahsoka jumps out the window and is chasing this woman, right? And she gets on these lights, these like sales board.
Floating billboards.
Yeah, they're like floating billboards, right? And she finds out that she's a Trellian Django jumper. And the Trellian, actually, we see the Trellian come up again in Rebels, don't we?
Yeah, became one of the Inquisitors.
Yeah, he was the eighth brother. That's right.
Yep.
And he had this.
There's losing that again.
Yeah, right. She ends up falling down one of these signs, so she goes and she jumps onto a passerby's car, and sure enough, it's Ponzignut. He sure recovered from his drinking down in the alley, didn't he?
at least well enough to drive.
Yeah, don't drink and drive, folks. Jeez. Yeah. So she kind of just does
one on a creek.
Yeah, she kind of does one of those superhero waves, and then just does a Jedi jump off of his ship, and they think they're successful. Cassie Cryer and Ione Marcy. She's kind of wearing like a wrestling mask. People were always like saying, what is that on her face? Kind of look like Joker and whatnot, but it's just a mask. Really, it's just kind of a helmet of some sort. And she can pull her hair through it, like a luchador mask or something, one of them wrestling masks. So here we are, and by the way, we're going through. It was well into the evening, right? And as we go along in this episode, it's so huge that we finally get into the day, into the early morning, and here we are at the train station, and she realizes that Ione Marcy's just no good for her. She's become toxic, right? So she finds the homing device on her back and throws it down at her, and she takes off running because they end up capturing Ione Marcy, the Keystone Cop robots. I don't have a picture of those right now, but man, I want to make one of those desperately. They're just so darn cool.
Those are cool.
Yeah, so I left that picture out, but we get right back into the action, and we get into another chase again, and it's Ahsoka and Cassie Cryer, and they end up inside the train, right? And she takes a hostage, and I'm gonna jump into the future here for a moment. Do you recognize that kid? Do you recognize, this is kind of a little Easter egg also. Do you recognize that kid from anywhere?
Is that Jack from the last episode?
No, he's not. He's not. He is the kid that pushes the button and saves Ahsoka when the elevator is crashing way into the future in The Wrong Jedi.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely.
Yeah. We'll have to get to it once we get there, but I thought that was kind of cool that they used that same little dude, or it seems like they use that same little dude, where here we are, we're at a standoff. She's basically saying, you can trade me for these people. Don't hurt them with my weapon. Please don't hurt them with my weapon. And it turns out that Terrace Nube got to the train station, and he's standing outside. And that before we go on, I'll talk about my second Cassie Cryer. What do you think of that one? Are you seeing it there?
Oh yeah, pretty wizard.
Yeah, it's wizard.
I'm gonna use that term more often.
Right. We got to find a way to use Carabast in there too, right?
Oh yeah.
Carabast and wizard and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, I like the way you did the upper body on this one, like the torso.
Yeah, you learn and you grow. So you see little differences. Like I said, in this one, I didn't use the Ventress head. I decided I'm going to go with the Aura Singh head.
Aura Singh, right?
And I actually sculpted that mask on there. If you can tell, if you can look at it there, you can kind of see it close up. I took just a thin, tiny little piece of Procreate, or I believe it was green stuff, and I just squeezed it down so thin, and I cut out the mouth, and I literally cut out the eyes. Is that crazy?
That is cool though.
Yeah, I thought it turned out good, and I embellished too. I mean, I made her hair a little bit thicker on this one. I like the one that you have. I like her hair a little bit better. But yeah, I learned some lessons. I learned a couple different things, and I made her kind of her ponytail. I don't really have a picture that I can share it, but I made it kind of flying out a little bit, like it was like flowing in the wind, more of like a unleashed type of style. Yeah, but I really like this character because she was just so cool. I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to have seen her again, but we don't ever see her.
Yeah,
again.
I'm surprised we never saw those two again because they were pretty striking as far as character designs go, and you would have thought those assets would have been reused, but I guess they're still locked up. Maybe we'll see them in Rebels.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Maybe they finally get free.
Yeah, and so Terrace Nube, he's waiting because he's constantly telling her about patience. Ahsoka learns so much from this episode. She learns how to calm her mind, that she can kind of connect with other people feeling anxiety. You know what I'm saying? She learned that about Banamu when they were in the hostel. She also learned patience and acceptance when maybe the first time around failed, with Cassie Cryer here, because she lost her like 3 times. So here comes Terrace Nube, and he stops her and pretty much just uses his lifelong skill to just disarm her, basically. And so they eventually get the lightsaber back, and Ahsoka is happy as all get out. And here we see that little kid again. And we'll see in the future.
Leku are much longer there.
What's that?
His Leku are much longer there, so you would definitely know it's not Jack, because Jack has very short.
Yeah, as we go down the road, he's that little kid in the elevator. He's trying. He tells her to hit the button, and he hits the button for her and saves her, and she jumps out with him. So she ultimately saves him more than once.
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of a fun little thing. Far into the future. We have a long way to go, folks. We're just in season 2. Yeah, but they save the day, and you think it's the end, and you think the credits are going to roll. Nope, there's even more stuff. She basically is asked to pass on what she learned. So they go to the Jedi training room where they're training younglings, and she basically says, this weapon is not only your life, it's your responsibility too. And I love these little Padawans, these little younglings. They're so cool. The twin creepies there, little pink guy. I had to put that in there, but that is the end of our episode. I know we went on long, folks, but man, that sometimes we get these episodes that are just amazing.
Yeah, and this, awesome. One of our favorites.
Right. For good reason. Yeah. It's so colorful. It's so exciting. It's based on a Kurosawa movie, and it's just awesome. So hopefully we will be able to have that same kind of feel, that same kind of excitement next week with bounty hunters, right?
Yeah, and another one is going to be jam-packed full of figures. Yeah, all 7 samurai will be represented.
That's right. Yep. Very good, very good. And if we didn't say it last week, we had our first guest on. It was Chris Sequel from Star Wars Underworld, and I want to thank him again. That was great fun. We had a blast, didn't we? Laughing about all kinds of different things.
Oh yeah, a lot of good insights.
Yeah. He sure did. And we will certainly have other guests on. A lot of cool things coming your way, folks. So thanks for joining us here tonight. And if you want to find me, I am on, where am I? I'm on Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations on Facebook. And you can also find me on Clone Wars Custom Figures. And I also have an Instagram. That's Peak Obi-Wan Custom Figures. And definitely check me out, follow me, and whatnot. And where can we find you, sir?
You can find me at the Customs for the Kid blog. From there, you could get all our links to, let's see, all our customizing the Clone Wars episodes, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Google Plus, Pinterest. It's all covered, and yeah, just come to www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com, and not only will you get the episodes, but you'll get tons of other Star Wars custom action figure content.
Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, we'll see you later.
Thank you, and may the force be with you.